and welcome to Law and Order SVU here on FANVERSATION. I'm Yael Tygiel. That's Taylor Gates. This is SVU Season 26, Episode 11, Deductible. Yes, I know we're late, and we're doing it. I'm so excited.
Better late than never.
That's true. I'm very glad we're doing this episode. Ooh, my notes just disappeared on me. Before we jump in, if you are in a situation where you need help, please reach out to RAINN. Their number is 1-800-656-4673, 1-800-656-4673. Taylor, what does that spell?
It spells hope.
It does. So please call RAINN if you need it. This is the S Review podcast where we take serious issues like this episode and say some shit. So consider this your content warning. I guarantee I say something that upsets someone because I have lots of thoughts. Before we jump into this episode, let me read the quick cap and then I want to hear your thoughts, Taylor, on 2611 Deductible. A young boy seeks help when his sister doesn't come home from work. Benson and Carisi suspect a woman's assault. The woman's assault was prearranged by a third party. Okay, Taylor, what did you think of this episode?
This is like my favorite episode in a long time. Like, I loved this episode.
I'm so glad. There are so many little bits and pieces to this episode that I actually love, but they, I think, do not necessarily matter to the like overall story. So I wasn't sure if this was a good episode.
No, I love this episode. I thought like there were so many like crazy lines that came a little later, but honestly, like the heart and soul of this episode, to get a little bit more like cheesy and sentimental, is this relationship between Kira and Jay, because they are so sweet and these actors were so good. They sold this sibling dynamic so well. It's just, I was noticing how rare it is to have a character that you can fully root for on the show, because there's just so many like crazy elements which are fun and I love, of course, but having a character like Kira who is so easy to root for, like a good person, the actress was incredible. I was like, wow, like I really think this is such a solid episode in every way. I loved this one.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Let's talk about Kira for a second, because I agree with you. It is rare that we have a character we can root for, because usually we're rooting for some random ass woman who has one scene who says something quirky. She was delightful. This actress was very much able to play, this young woman. I 100% was like, how old is this poor girl? Stuck taking care of her brother. I will also say this is a note that I made, and it's going on the record, everybody knows how I feel about children. Jay, her 9-year-old brother, I will say this, where's my note? It says, this kid, I don't like kids, but he's unfortunately basically an adult.
Mm-hmm. He's super smart, but he's super sweet. He's not like, a lot of times the shows go a very like precocious route, which can be like fun, but I feel like these characters just felt so real, which is not necessarily something we get on SVU, which again can be fun because the show is wacky sometimes. But this episode felt so grounded from them, and I was like, damn, the writing is so good, the acting is so good. Like, this is my favorite of the season by far.
Amazing. Honestly, me too. And I thought that it was just in my head. And so I'm so glad to hear that. Let me give some actor shout outs, just because we absolutely should. Let's start actually with writing shout out. This episode was written by Kathy Doby, who has written lots of previous episodes that we loved. Wrote this one. Okay. So let's start with Kira, played by Nicole Ziana. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. She, I think, was like a BuzzFeeder at some point. I did some research because her accent when she was on trial, when she was testifying, her accent was so impressive in that, like, it felt like a New York native, because it like slipped in just like every once in a while. Like, it was not harsh and caricature-y. It felt real, if that makes any sense whatsoever. That it was just like a subtle, like, this is a girl who grew up here. Which is funny because I looked her up and she's from Florida and lives in LA. Like, amazing. Grace was played by Lucy Owen. I will say she had amazing facial expressions. Like, I know what that woman was thinking and feeling. It was really great. Frank, our creep, is David Allen Bash. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing names, everybody. Jay, our young adult, was played by Leo Easton Kelly. A really great performance. If you've ever seen the SVU podcast, you know how much I don't like kids, and this kid was great. The defense attorney was played by Brian Cade. Morgan, the queen, the MVP of this episode, the VIP of the podcast, played by Elizabeth Brady. She does not have many credits to her name. I want not only more of that character, I want this actress everywhere.
Yeah.
The officer early on who brought Jay in, Officer Moore, played by Kyle Kenkonde. I'm so sorry. People's names are hard. Really, really good performances. And then this is something everyone needs to know. Our creep, Jim Hogan, was played by Michael McGrady. Now, you're all probably thinking, this guy looks real familiar. You're right. Michael McGrady is one of those amazing character actors you've seen in a bunch of different stuff. He is a very important person for two reasons. One, Hocus Pocus, the original, he is the cop that the kids go to and are like, we're being chased by the witches. And then they leave and his girlfriend's like, what was that? And he's like, they thought I was a real cop. That's him. And the second most important thing, he is father to Hunter and Michaela McGrady, two iconic plus size models.
Okay, slay.
They are queens and he is father to them. Therefore, he gets mad respect on this podcast.
Love that.
Okay. Yes, amazing performances all around. Great episode. I'm going to say something wild. We've talked a lot on this podcast about how we'd like to see different types of crimes, because at some point the like crime itself seems to be exactly the same, but like the details change or the, you know, weird twists change, but it seems to always be the same. Weird statement to say, but I appreciate that the crime was that he went down on her, because I feel like that is 26 seasons. I do not think we've ever had that as a crime. Maybe once before.
I will say, on some in that similar vein, I like it when we look at different worlds and jobs too. And this, I guess it was like an insurance, obviously, but I kind of thought it was like the stock market at first because it felt very like stock markety. But I will say the environment I thought was really interesting too, because we don't often like see this kind of environment. You know what I mean? It's a very specific world. And I thought they did a really good job sort of immersing us in that too, because you could tell what kind of work this was. She was like handing out the coffees and the sandwiches, which is like a very unique sort of way to do it. And so I really liked that it wasn't just like a restaurant, which is, you know, fine, but I kind of really appreciated that it was in this sort of niche-y world that we haven't seen a lot before, because I feel like that made it stand out too. And they did a good job capturing it.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I definitely also thought that it was stocks. It felt very Wolf of Wall Street.
I was like, am I watching Industry? Like, that's what I felt like.
Daryl in the chat says it felt very finance bro. I will say this. I agree with you. It felt, and maybe things haven't changed, but this felt like early aughts in terms of workspace. And how things progressed and how the story unfolded. And maybe things haven't changed. But like this very much reminded me actually of a very not similar situation, but similar work culture to, I will say, from actual lived experience, the like startup world in Silicon Valley in San Francisco area in the early aughts. And like Alexa says in the chat, drinking on the job sounds interesting. I, before moving to LA, worked for an incredible startup. I will first say that, wonderful people, everyone was great. But we did have afternoon cocktails. We did have happy hours on the clock. We had a kegerator, and my job was to refill the kegerator. We went and had 3-hour lunches that involved drinks. Different culture, different time. But apparently
working with rich clients like this, though, that's a thing. Like it's a relationship based industry, especially working with people who have helicopters. That's the vibe. So I really like that they delved into that vibe. I thought that was really interesting and different for this show, which was cool.
I agree. I also liked the way that the case unfolded. Was not twists and turns, but felt reasonable and understandable. And, a lot of times we watch the show and we go, why didn't anyone ask this or check this or wonder this? And I don't feel like there were many holes in that.
I agree. Yeah. It came with surprises, even though I think just from reading the synopsis, you kind of figure out what direction it's going to go. It still was like, oh, like I didn't expect that to be how we got there. And even if you knew that he was lying about his son's peanut allergy, which like everyone knew he was lying about that. But it was solid, but it was still engaging. I wasn't like predicting the ending or some of the twists that we got, or like not even twists, but just progressions in the story. Like with the Christmas party liquor supplies, like that was a really interesting thing that we threw in there, that he like blackmailed her. So I thought that storyline I didn't expect. So yeah, it was just solid. It was solidly written. It made sense. We love it when things make sense. We love that.
Absolutely. I will say, when she's in the hospital and the flowers come, two things. One, ma'am, you wait till she's leaving to give her those flowers. And two, it reminds me of like when a kid breaks something and is like, Mom, how weird that thing broke. Like trying to cover preemptively that they did something wrong. The flowers, I was like, you were off the hook. You sent the flowers. And she was like, you know what? He's taunting me. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, I love that. I love how that's what drove her over the edge. I was like, good. That would piss me off too. And so I'm glad that pissed her off just as much.
Agreed. And then when the check came and, she wasn't sure what to do, I understand that, right? Like that makes sense that she would start questioning it. It is a way to gaslight her.
Yeah.
Alexa
100%.
in the chat says, I did do a double take on the actual essay. How so? In that she didn't want what he did and literally ran away and locked herself in the bathroom.
Yeah.
I think that it was new, that it was a new, yes, I agree. I liked that it was new, a new act. What a weird thing to say. But I think, the show does do the usual, especially with the way that it played out, right? That he was under the impression that this was an agreed upon situation, which is a thing that happens, right? Like
but
this
also
is
read the room, bro. Have a conversation with this girl. Like, I don't. That's crazy. If you're looking at her face and seeing the body language, like, are you stupid? If you genuinely believe that, like, check in. Like, it's really not rocket science,
the fact that she stayed locked in the room, right? In the bathroom until the next morning when someone told her that he was gone. He should have knocked and be like, I'm leaving. I'm leaving.
Give her phone. Like, what is going on? The communication was crazy because there was none. Even if you believed that, if she's doing, like, what? Dude.
I think the best part is during the trial, he says, I have 2 daughters Kira's age. And all I could think was, you just made it so much worse, dude.
Oh, what the hell? He's a dumbass.
Um, imagine your 2 daughters in this situation, sir.
Like, but the thing is, literally just check. You can think that all you want, which, by the way, messed up thing to be like, that's your closing present, whatever. That ethics of that aside, if she is clearly not here for it, conversation first. And then be like, oh, something's wrong. There was a miscommunication. So, are you stupid? Yeah, the answer is yes. It was so easy to be avoided. Like, he didn't by not checking or doing anything. Sir, be so for real right now. You do deserve prison because you're stupid.
I mean, so many things could be solved with communication.
Yeah.
It's literally one of my least favorite things when reading a romance is miscommunication trope, because a simple question could solve all the problems.
Yeah. Are you okay? Do you still want to do this? No, I didn't ever want to do this. Oh, that's how that would have gone. Bro.
But he's a giver, you know?
Yeah, he is a giver.
We're going to say some awful things about that, and I guarantee it. I want to talk about Grace and women who continue to help men be predators. Could you imagine going through something and then 20 years later seeing it continue to happen and be like, yeah, well, I went through it.
Yes, because people do that all the time.
I know. I just don't understand how you could be such a piece of shit.
Yeah, it just makes so much sense to me though, because to use a different analogy, people are like, well, I don't want people to not have to pay student loans. Like, I had to pay my student loans off. Okay, that sucks. You want that for everybody else? You want things to just be as bad as what you went through? No, that's what Grace's whole vibe was.
Isn't the whole thing people have kids and they're like, I want my kids to have a better life than me?
And
But
then
but strangers, they're like, no, fuck strangers.
Yeah, 100%.
I hate it. Women. I'm going to speak to the women here. Women. We live in this world, and this world is shitty to us. A lot. Maybe we should be less shitty to each other, because we already have to contend with the systems and the world and men.
Yeah.
So maybe we should be less shitty to each other.
Yeah. I did think her character was really like interesting and sort of nuanced though too, because yeah, she got to that position because she was complicit and she allowed that to happen. And unfortunately, that's true too. If you speak out against this stuff, you're not going to become the COO. You only become the COO in this kind of system a lot of times if you turn the other way or you quote unquote, suck it up and take it. And so I really liked her arc too. And that she's a character that feels like she could so easily be such like an antagonist and so cruel and vindictive, which would have been fun. Don't get me wrong. I love an evil girl boss. But I think that it was really nice that she had a lot of depth and different contradictions in her and did come around at the end in a way that made sense. Like, this episode just felt real, and I really liked that.
I agree. I agree with you wholeheartedly. The only part that like did not feel real, and really, I think, shame on the writers, is For My Fans.
For My Fans was great. Are you kidding me? I loved For My Fans.
I hated it. It was the worst.
For My Fans was hilarious. I wrote it down because I loved it.
I think it is absolutely the worst name they've ever come up
That's
with.
why it's so good. I love a terrible brand name like that, like a knockoff.
I love these names. For My Fans just doesn't flow.
That's why it's so good. I love For My Fans.
I loved Morgan and would love to see her For My Fans.
I bet it's great. Yeah.
um, uh, Oy.
I have a question
Yes, please.
/ thought. I understand. I want to go to the $2,000 Christmas party liquor storyline
Sure.
because he's talking about getting her in legal trouble for that. That's like crazy. Like, are you not allowed to make a mistake? You know what I mean? I guess that's true because yeah, they would think that she stole it or whatever. I can understand getting fired, but getting into legal trouble for like literally losing an envelope seems crazy to me.
I mean, I agree with you. A couple of thoughts that I had, because again, like I was in her position when
Yeah.
I was her age. And I had a company credit card and again, like I'm talking early or late aughts, early 2010s, and we ordered shit online. So like that she lost an envelope of cash is even more like, yeah, you've been doing the same trick for 20 years and you haven't even like at least make it so she accidentally bought $20,000 worth of booze. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
she accidentally added a zero. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
something that makes sense.
I just think it's crazy that she could have gotten in trouble with the law for that because that's like fully a mistake. I don't know.
I mean, yes, I also think, and just like thinking about how a company would actually work, they would just deduct it from your paychecks.
Right. That's what I was thinking. They would deduct it, or yeah, she could get fired for that. I completely understand that.
Sure.
But you have to like go to court and like get it. Like that's nuts. I'd be terrified to do that job.
I mean,
'Cause
also,
honestly,
as an insurance company, I'm sure you
mm,
have insurance for that.
no, so true. Yeah, that's a good point too. I was just like, whoa,
But I
that's
do understand
awful.
she's young, she is responsible for another person. I understand this threat that is
Yeah.
actually not possible. Um, Daryl says, they said they would have said she stole it if she had lost it. That was the threat. Totally.
I get
Um,
that, but also surely there's ways to prove like that's not in my bank account. I don't have that. You know what I mean?
it's cash.
I know, but I feel like she could be like, no, I didn't. Like people lose things. That's a thing. I don't know. I just feel like that's nuts. Also, 2K for this company is literally nothing. They're gonna spend that on a Christmas party alcohol. It's not that serious and it's not that deep for you guys. That's someone's like half of someone's bonus at this company. Like it's not that serious.
I mean, also, I don't know where they're shopping, but again, a Costco
How
order.
is she gonna get that much liquor back to the office too? Because you're in New York. I'm sure she doesn't have a car.
No,
She's
of
just gonna
course
be
not.
carrying all of this liquor on the subway. That's a crazy thing I thought about too. I'm like, that poor girl. Gonna have to carry just like armfuls of, you would have dropped the liquor anyway. Logistically, this is a terrible plan. Sorry.
Um, I want to ask about or talk about the recorded phone call. Because I don't know if people know this, especially our friends who watch and listen from other countries. Each state has their own law about recording people, like recording phone calls. Um, some of them have a one person consent law, so one person has to know it's being recorded, and some states have that both callers need to know that it's being recorded. I don't recall I don't know what the New York law is, and I didn't look it up, but I'm fascinated that this guy chose to record this phone call, which means he is definitely Jim. As much as he was a creep, was like a savvy creep, and actually, like again, was a creep, but wasn't that bad of a guy.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, I actually believe that he thought this, but again, it goes back to the in the moment, use one brain cell. But I do believe, yeah, he was. I don't want to go as far as to say he was a victim, but he was manipulated.
He was
You know?
manipulated.
Yeah.
Totally. I will also say, I'm going to make a very crude joke. He, at that moment, had no blood in his brain.
Well, that's true, but hopefully you still have a brain cell in your brain.
Nah.
Use it.
Also, I mean, again, he is from a different generation where they think it's okay not to communicate with the person that they're about to have sex with.
Dumb bitch hours.
Oh man. During the trial, Frank says a statement that I want to discuss. He says, incentives dictate outcomes 100% of the time. That is positive reinforcement. Yes?
Yeah, I believe so. In psychology.
Yeah. He was like, I want to sound so smart. I'm like, basically, you're not saying anything that
You're literally just saying that actions have consequences.
Yeah.
Essentially. Like, yeah. People have motivations. True. You learned that in creative writing school too. Like, what do you want me?
Oh man. At the end of the episode, we have a conversation that honestly pisses me off that it was just a sentence.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Carisi's going to charge him with perjury, and we find out that lying about a crime is worse than actually committing a crime. Let's have a whole fucking case about that. Let's talk about that.
I was like, it's another thing you just shoehorned in for no reason. I agree, but that should have been the theme of an episode. Like, it doesn't have to be this one, but save that for an episode that's like centered around that.
Because what a shitty broken system that you're like, hey guys, remember how broken the system is? All right, good night. We're done. What? Ugh, very annoying. Honestly, I really, really loved this episode, and I'm so glad that it wasn't just because, Hunter and Michaela McGrady's dad was in it. It wasn't just because we have Morgan and her For My Fans. Like,
Ooh, Frank Bailey. So true.
She also, when she was testifying, Frank is very transactional. Are you? And she says, it's my money. I earned it.
She was a legend. I'm so glad we had someone like her because we don't often see people like that either. We have a lot of, which is very realistic, of course, people who obviously feel very guilty or like kind of waver on the stand because the lawyer's like being mean to them. She didn't give a fuck. I love that. She's like, yeah, I did take the money. And you should too, if you're ever in this position. I'm like, so true.
Absolutely. I mean, look, do I think that Kira should have held off on cashing the check until after the trial just to avoid that conversation? Yes. But she is an employee, went to work, received bonus, did not ask for bonus, did not dictate terms of bonus. Bonus was given to her. She earned it.
Yeah, 100%.
Regardless of what she did or didn't do, she earned that bonus.
Yeah, agreed.
We pay people for their work, be it in an office or sex work in an office.
Well, yes.
Bonus for sex work in an office. All right. Shall we get to best lines? I mean, we still have a lot to talk about, but I've split it up into other parts.
Yeah, for sure.
Best lines. I have 3.
Go for
it. This one really should be a t-shirt. Since when is pleasuring a lady illegal?
Yeah, I had that one too.
1, agreed. 2, Taylor, agreed.
Agreed. 100%.
As a lady, agreed. As a lady pleasuring a lady, agreed.
Since when is it illegal?
Since when is it illegal?
Unfortunately, it could be soon in the US. Let's just go ahead and say that.
We'll come back to that conversation. There's nothing alleged about your DNA in her vagina.
That whole conversation, I almost wrote it down.
And then from that conversation, so your head just accidentally ended up between her legs. Those are the lines I had to bring to us.
Yeah, I had almost all those.
All right, what you got?
When they were talking about the helicopter, it must be nice to look down at the slobs during rush hour. True. I would love to have a helicopter to take me places around LA. She was selling something and I bought it. What about your this was when the girlfriend was with him, like trying to get in the helicopter. What about our trip? Well, you can go on it, just not with him. You said you tried something with Kira. Turns out what you tried was sexual assault. I was trying to go down on her. I'm more a giver than a taker. Incredible. I just figured she was my closing gift. It's crazy, but I had to write it down. If I was willing to stand on my desk and call Frank a prick, I'd sure as hell be willing to do it in open court. Legend. And finally, this was just like the craziest burn. You're the chief operating officer, or is that just a vanity title that you were given for your collusion? I said, got her. That was such a burn.
Amazing lines. This whole table candy position situation. Look, as I said, I used to work at a startup. We used to drink and go out, and lines got blurred. And again, I'm not shitting on the startup I worked at. They were wonderful and good people, but table candy was a thing.
It's a culture. Yeah.
Yeah. Literally, I was in charge of the company credit card, one of the people, and would be sent to events that were geared towards software engineers to buy drinks, to drink with these, software engineers. If you've seen the first episode of Silicon Valley, and you see the party where it's all of these dudes just standing around awkwardly and women there available to flirt, that was what it was like. So I didn't realize that was still a thing, because it's also been 20 years. Yeah. Well, shall we go to shower thoughts? Because I have a shower thought.
You can handle this one.
Oh, be ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. For our friends who are listening in the shower, I have a very important question for you. Taylor, you're going to have to answer this as well.
Okay.
Would you rather a spider in your cereal or a snake in your bed? I've thought a lot about this.
I actually kind of did too, because that one made me think, babe. I'm going to be honest. I think the spider, because it's contained in a cup. You can go and you can just pour it down the sink really fast. The snake, you pull back your covers, you don't know where that thing's going. Then it's loose in your room. You know what I mean? I think it's just easier to contain the spider.
I 100% agree with you. The spider is contained. Also, a snake, you'd have to physically touch it to move it.
Mm-hmm.
They wrap around things. They will move in a way that a spider in a cereal bowl, even if it's a huge fucking spider, even if it is an Australian-sized huge fucking spider, that's easy to put a box on top of.
Exactly. Yeah, you can control it. There's a lot more variables with a snake.
Literally, as I was taking notes, I went, shower thoughts right there.
That's actually really good. Maybe we just play a game of would you rather during shower thoughts from now on.
Maybe. Alexa in the chat agrees, spider, but both are my nightmares.
Yeah.
Fair. I don't like either. The idea of either in my house bothers me. But I would rather the spider in my cereal. I was on the couch last week. I had a blanket, my little throw blanket on me. I was very cozy. And I, out of the corner of my eye, so for those who don't have long hair gets everywhere, right?
Yes. Oh, God,
So
yeah.
I thought I saw hair just like blowing in the wind. No, a spider was crawling over me.
Wait, because I have that opposite of that problem. I always think I see a spider and then it's just my hair. So I understand the feeling, but I always do opposite of you.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a spider
Ooh.
on my blanket on me.
Ew.
Yeah, I freaked. But in this scenario, would still prefer the spider to the snake.
100%. Especially if it's in the cereal. I think that's like a huge element of this. It's already in a bowl. It's not going to be crawling out of the bowl, probably.
That's true.
And even if it is, you're right. Box, plate, whatever you can put on top of it.
Shoe,
Shoe, anything. Yeah.
Snake is long.
Snake
Even if it's
long.
like a
snake can't just squish. Snake, bigger problem.
Bigger problem. Also, I do like these as our shower thoughts.
Yeah, I honestly feel like we should just bring this to the table. It's just like gives people something to ponder and explain our rationale.
But it has to be episode related.
Yeah, we could try to make it episode related.
Well, let's see if we remember next time.
Yeah, let's see.
All right, I'm ready for what did we learn? Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, hit me.
You kind of stole it, but just the phrase table candy, I like learned what that is. I don't know if that's a phrase beyond this episode or if this was like sort of company specific, but I thought that was a really interesting term for that because I obviously knew that happened, but table candy, I was like, oh, that's so interesting.
I feel like I'd heard it before, but I'm not actually sure. And then also, it reminds me of like the term booth babe.
I haven't heard that either.
Oh, so like if you've ever been to a like trade show or a convention, not necessarily like a Comic-Con, although they also have booth babes, but like any sort of convention at any convention center, right? Like a sales conference or something like that, you will see some booths will have ridiculously attractive, usually women.
See, sorry, not to cut you off, but when you said booth babe, my mind went to when you're like at a club and you know how there's like club promoters trying to get all of these women in their club and they have like they get a booth like and get bottle service and stuff because they're sort of within that clientele, rich men. That's where my mind went. It makes a lot of sense with the convention, but this happens everywhere is the point. Like a whole culture has this.
Yes. I will say now booth babes are literally called brand ambassadors.
Yeah.
Which is in LA specifically, like that is a job where they hire, attractive model-esque people. And I say model-esque in like not the just traditional, like what you picture a model, but like people who are aspiring creatives to go and be pretty at events and hand out, flyers or beverages or, I'm not saying that there aren't like specific representatives that are brand ambassadors who know the content that they are there to sell you, that are pitching you, that are hosting the presentation or sales. Those are different. I'm talking about people who are literally just there to draw people to whatever is being sold at them.
Yeah.
Good one. I have a very different what did I learn? And I honestly have no explanation for what I learned.
Whoa, okay.
All right. While I was taking notes for this episode, I was like, oh, the officer who brings Jay in. Benson very much calls out Officer Moore. She says, thank you, Officer Moore, reading her name tag. Another character in this episode, I believe one of the former employees, was a girl named July Moore. Jim Hogan is our creep. When we are at the courthouse, it was one Hogan place. Why, in this episode, do you have two characters or two things with the same name twice?
That's so interesting. Wow.
Did we
I
run
wonder
out
if
of
it's a
names?
situation where it's like a callback, like the writer's room, like or Barba is named Barba
Right.
because of Noberto. So I'm
Yes.
wondering if it's like we're gonna name all these people Hogan because like we know a Hogan, or you know what I mean?
But that's where my brain was like, I understand that names are usually pulled from crew because they sign releases. I know this for fact from other shows. And again, Barbara's a perfect example. I'm confused as to why we have it twice in this episode.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You have 2 Moores and 2 Hogans.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I didn't notice that. And I don't think anyone else did either but you, to be quite honest.
I get it. I wouldn't have noticed if I wasn't looking for the actress who played Officer Moore.
Fair, so fair.
And then because I was paying attention to Jim Hogan because I'm a big fan of the McGrady family, to then see one Hogan place as the address for the courthouse blew my mind.
It's so real.
So that's what I learned. And I knew that no one was going to have the same thing.
Not in a million years would I have guessed that one.
Silly. So silly. Honestly, before we wrap up, I just have to know, since when is pleasuring a lady illegal?
Because what is pleasuring a lady illegal?
Does that need to be a shirt is a great question that has been asked in my household.
I like your shirt right now.
Thank you. It's my boner family reunion.
I know. I know. If anyone knows, it's me, yo.
It felt like the right shirt to wear for this episode.
Yeah, it does.
If you don't know this shirt, shame on you.
If you don't know the shirt, unfollow me right now.
No, just go watch Agatha All Along.
Just go watch Agatha All Along, okay?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But really, let's talk about, since when is pleasuring a lady illegal? Because it might be.
Yeah.
It's one of many things that could become illegal. From what I hear, romance novels could become illegal.
Yeah.
I also believe toys, adult toys, could become illegal. And for things that don't necessarily impact me, but might impact you, pornography, just general Pornhub, free porn.
Don't you read pornography constantly?
That's what I'm saying. But what I read is called romance.
Uh-huh.
I agree. I'm talking about visual pornography.
Okay, gotcha. Videos.
Yes.
Okay. Now we're on the same page.
For my fans.
Yeah. For my fans can become illegal.
Yeah. Oh man. I honestly would love an episode about that.
For my fans.
Could For My Fans be acquired by SugarFap?
Yes. No, without a doubt.
Because SugarFap is just a good name.
Yeah. They're definitely having a merger soon.
I mean, they are competitors, right? Because
but so was every media company, and now there's like 3 of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is I think that an acquisition would make sense.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And with John Waters at the helm of SugarFap,
he is going to make it happen.
Yes. Yeah. I would love if, what was her name? Morgan, she could be COO of SugarFap.
Oh, I'd love that.
No.
I would watch that spinoff so fast.
I want to ask real quick, what are your thoughts on Silva's behavior this episode?
I'm trying to think, what did she exactly do this episode?
She was basically babysitter to Jay.
Oh, it was sweet. I think that she is good at that kind of thing. I think that she has a real knack for that, honestly. Because not the same exact thing, but I'm just thinking of the storyline where she had to pretend to be the predator on the computer. Mm-hmm. And she was really good with that guy, too. And so I think that she's very, nurturing in a lot of ways. And I think that she because Olivia used to have, I mean, she still has that obviously too, but in the early seasons especially, I think that she was really good with like young kids. If you remember 911, if you remember the kid that she kept in the precinct overnight that one time. And I think that it's really sweet to see Silva sort of taking on that, you know, torch or whatever.
Yeah.
She's growing on me a lot, I gotta say. She's growing on me a lot.
All right.
It'll be interesting to see, because you know that she'll get an episode eventually, and it'll probably have to do with her dumb family, which I'm like not looking forward to. I'm sorry. I hate her background, but I'm really enjoying her now. So she won me over to a degree.
All right. I'll allow it. Oh, Doreen in the chat. I like Silva.
Yeah.
Doreen coming in with the controversial.
Like I said, her personality, her actions, I'm loving. I just know we're gonna have to deal with her stupid cop father eventually. I'm not looking forward to it. Unless she pops off on him, and then maybe I will be looking forward to it.
I would love to see that, honestly. Like, you know, it's something we talk about on this show a lot, that this is a propaganda show.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we started the season with people don't like cops, and then continue to give us reasons throughout the season that people don't like cops without acknowledging that those are reasonable reasons.
Yeah.
I would love to see that. I think it would be a very good, it would be a great way to give her character richer layers. It would be a great way to explore that, to see that not only was she raised by cops, but she herself is trying to do good, and therefore, you know, maybe realizes that there are problems within the system. And she doesn't have to go full cat, because I do understand that there are viewers who like their cop shows to be propaganda, but it might be interesting to have at least somebody think about what's happening.
Listen, I don't think she shouldn't go full cat because of the viewers. Screw you guys if you don't like that. But no one's ever going to replace or beat Cat, and that's why it's okay that she doesn't go full Cat, because she's a different person, and we shouldn't try to live up to Cat because no one's ever going to.
That's true. I think Tari was my roommate who watches SVU with me. I think he was suggesting that Officer Moore come and be Cat 4.
I would love that. I really liked her. She was very smart.
I think the way that, honestly, was such a small part, but the way that it was handled, right? She was like, this kid came in, it's just him and his sister. I knew her sister's in the hospital for sexual assault. I knew that if I called anyone else, this would be such a bigger deal right now.
You know, this is a random thought that I had, but I was so sure we were going to get some backstory on the parents, and we never did. We never found out how they died, which I guess we don't need to, but I just thought they were teeing that up so hard. We never discussed it.
The picture right is them on a motorcycle.
I think.
Oh, the parents died in a motorcycle accident.
I guess, but it was shocking that we never got mentioned, because I thought for sure we were going to. Never.
We also, I don't believe, got the actual age for Kira.
No, I want to say she was like in her early mid-20s.
I guess she had to be over 21 in December if she was buying the booze.
Yeah, I was thinking like 23 or 24.
I thought that she was a high schooler at the beginning. And like in that first scene, I thought she was 18.
See, I thought she was a young mom, like just a young mom at the beginning. And then it was like the sister. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, she seemed very young. I would say 22 max.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough of this. Great episode. Great chat, everybody. Thank you to everyone who's live in our chat. Doreen, Alexa, Daryl. I saw Deanna was here as well. We love having you live. Please, we have not had any rating or review in a year on iTunes. I will say this, we seem to get one comment a year. We've been doing this for quite a few years, so that is very sad. If you have not given us 5 stars, please do. If you don't like us, give us 4 stars. I don't know why it's years that they have not fixed stars 1 through 3, but they haven't. So iTunes, 5 stars or 4 stars. Write a review if you hate us. Tell us why. You're probably wrong, but tell us why, and maybe we'll improve. Probably not. And if you like us, tell us why you like us. If it's the Boner Family Reunion shirt, that's good enough for me. Until next week, I believe, new episode. Yep, that sounds right. Taylor, where are you on the internet? What are you up to these days?
I am still on Twitter at alphaba_Ann. I'm also on TikTok at that name. We're trying something new. I'm on Instagram at Taylor_Gates_. I also have been doing a ton of interviews for Collider at Paley Fest. If you guys like Severance or Agatha and Yael's shirt or Gilmore Girls or Hacks, I've been doing a bunch of those interviews. You can find those if you just Google my name and then Collider, or on Collider's social media if you want to see me on the red carpet in action.
You can also find us on For My Fans.
Yeah.
I am on Instagram at Yael Tygiel. That's YAEL2IGIEL. If you would like my thoughts on romance novels, aka the written porn, check out before it's illegal. Check out Good Little Library Mouse on Instagram. Yep, we'll be back. Thanks for joining us. We love you all. Bye.